What's up, y'all, to the 13th episode of the Unity or Death podcast. Today we're doing something I've kind of wanted to do for a while because it seems to be something nobody ever did. And that's to break down the actual Garrett Foster situation and what happened with Garrett that night with people that were actually on the ground. And as far as I'm aware, the only person who was interviewed by mainstream news is actually on the show as well. And outside of that, this story kind of got dropped and forgotten about. And the lies around it have been kind of insane and they're repeated endlessly. That's why I released that video last week. And as soon as I released that video, I remembered like, hey, I know all these people. Let's get them on to like talk about what happened and kind of break down piece by piece that summer and that night from people that were on the ground. So first off, we got my buddy, Malpractice Medic. How you doing, my man? You're muted, you're muted.
My
there you go.
Man. What's up, brother? Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. And then we have my friend Sass. How you doing, Sass?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just saw Black Widow came out today.
Oh, yeah.
Kick-ass movie. Just got back from that.
I just need to remember that's out. And yeah, so obviously people know who Mal is because he's all around all the time. But you want to give the quick rundown of who you are, Sass? Because a lot of people don't know that like me and you know each other, have known each other for like actually like half a year now. So like,
has it been that long?
Yeah, time flies. It's weird.
Yeah, crazy. No, my name is Sass. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives down here in Austin, Texas. Waiting on this redistricting. Probably going to run a brand new district, so no incumbent. So that's kick-ass. Unity and empowerment are major themes of my campaign. So this is like sweet. This unity focus. But yeah, Magnus. I know you had your whole thing where you were on a bunch of different media, Jimmy Dore and crap, and I think I reached out to you at one point, but then I think maybe you reached back, and eventually we just started chatting away, and like just a lot of things clicked. And then in this recent round, Magnus realized that I was kind of the main speaker on what happened with Garrett Foster, and we'll get in more to why that happened and how that all occurred. But
yeah, it was kind of surreal because I was making that video I released a week ago, and I was like, just going through YouTube, Garrett Foster for like clips and everything. And then I saw your face and I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, he's in Austin. And then I watched the video and it's like, oh crap, we have like this connection we didn't even know that we had in this whole situation. Cause I knew Garrett, obviously like Mal and all the Austin people knew Garrett. So like, little serendipity there, but yeah, I guess to get right into it, with you guys, Mal, how much were you involved in like the whole thing in Austin that summer? Was it just Foster's Memorial, or were you out more days than that?
So I actually came from the East Coast with two other guys, because after Garrett was killed, his guys put out, asking for a QRF to come for the next week and have a fucking massive force. Because Perry had shown up to Garrett's memorial and was harassing people, and
that's we'll get into that. That's a detail nobody knows about. Nobody talks about the fact that Perry was coming around after the fact and like harassing people, which is insane to me.
So I was active, doing stuff on the East Coast, and of course when I heard about Garrett, man, I mean, shit broke my heart. So I was able to hitch a ride with two dudes that I didn't even know. I hadn't even really talked to them before. Picked me up, and we went to Austin, and that was pretty much it as far as Texas goes. That was the only time I was there, unfortunately, but I'm very blessed to have been a part of that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to the memorial. And then Sass, can you kind of, with your personal experience, because you were on the ground a lot in Austin, of kind of just I don't know how to go about this, like the timeline of how kind of it all started and evolved up to that night with Garrett? Because I know things changed really dramatically after that night with Garrett. So, like, what was it like before that?
Yeah, so like let's first paint a picture of like who Garrett is and like was like leading up to that. And like he had been out there every day with his quadriplegic wife, Whitney, who he was the caretaker of, marching for Black Lives and protecting people. And he was out there all the time feeding the homeless. I had never met him previously, but I mean, this dude was a dude who cared about his community, and was putting in the work. That was my first real march, and it was unplanned. I actually had my own event. I did like a little car parade downtown for like a people's bailout, because that was at the time when like the Congress was like doing this whole thing about, are we going to give people stimulus checks? And then I got home and I got hit up by this like a local community dude who was like, I'm looking for speakers tonight. I'm putting on this thing to like stand in solidarity with Portland, which was occupied at the time. So just bringing back all the 2020 memories. And that was supposed to lead up into a march that was planned that then got pushed back a week because inclement weather. But we went anyway. And I showed up first, pouring rain. The organizer showed up. And then when the rain cleared, some more people started coming. He set up his PA system, actually gave like a little speech. And just over time, more and more people started coming. We got to the point where we had 100, 200 people. And we were standing in front of the police precinct, and they were like, you guys are in the streets, you got to clear. And we was like, all right, cool. So that's when we started marching. We marched up to the Capitol. We marched down to, the mayor was staying in some like high rise downtown or whatever. And we were like screaming at him. It was super cool, man. And again, my first march, it was so exciting. And it just kind of happened out of nowhere. I just kind of fell into it. And it was getting close to 10 p.m. We were marching north up Congress Avenue. And I mean, by that point, there were, probably 80, 60 of us. Like the numbers were starting to dwindle, and we're coming up. How do I even like put this in my hands? So like, if this is north and this is the direction that we're going, a vehicle comes around the corner, no blinker, goes through a red light, accelerates into a crowd of pedestrians, of people who are marching. Like almost hits a bunch of people.
Hey, yeah, just to stop you really quick, because this is a point of contention I argue with people all the time, and from the videos I don't see this. Was there any deliberate blocking of vehicles whatsoever? If cars were pulling, because I saw a vehicle pulling up behind the crowd at that corner, and you guys were letting it through. I saw vehicles turning. Like if anyone pulled up, you guys would depart, and they would there was no like deliberately blocking cars or attacking cars or anything. That's a big conspiracy that gets put around all the time.
Correct. And yeah, like you said, there's even in the main video that got circulated first from Hiram Gilberto, who live streams all the Austin stuff. You can see that there's a vehicle that's just chilling, no big deal. And we were letting cars through and go around us. And this dude just decided to accelerate into the crowd. And one of the things is like that I had wrong. I did an interview with Cuomo Primetime Live, and I said that there were a bunch of people in front of the car when he stopped. That was incorrect at the time. I had that wrong, said I remembered it wrong. I talked to witnesses, looked at the videos. So, dude pulls around the corner, screeches, stops. There's nobody in front of his vehicle for a good 20 feet. So there was no reason for him to stop. He just stopped of his own accord, even though he just accelerated into a crowd of people.
Yeah, even because I'll play a new video that came out very recently, actually, that's super slowed down. There's nobody in front of the car.
There's nobody in front of the car. And there's a video that's been out for a while where there's like 1 or 2 frames where you can see it. It's kind of hard, but yeah, if you have another new video, you might be able to see that. I know there was like a veteran or something that I talked to who took video, who had it on his dash cam, and I tried to get it from him, and I almost succeeded, but I failed. And he had that perfect angle. But but within 6 seconds, I was actually, so again, we're marching up, cars coming around. I mean, I wasn't very far when he was coming around, and I looked over and I just kind of kept marching. And then the next thing I know, pop, pop, I turned my head over my shoulder, pop, pop. I see more pop flashes coming off the top of the handgun with the arm just like sticking straight out of the window. And then I think I remember, it's not in the video. I remember somebody, like everybody just freezing for a second.
Let's actually pull it, because I can put this up on stream. So like, I don't know if you can see this very well.
Yeah, so this vehicle is coming south. So this vehicle is coming against the direction that we're marching, and the dude's going to come in perpendicularly, so off the right side of that video. So
where about in this video were you? Because I know Garrett, he's on the far right of this, technically the far left.
Yeah. Of that. See that yellow shirt?
Yeah.
I was probably to that person's right coming up. I don't know if you can actually see me in this video. I've watched this one a bunch of times, but yeah, go ahead and click play, and let's see what we can see. I did have a big sign I was holding high up in the sky, so it was vertical. Oh.
And even
okay, you can see my sign. You can see the vertical sign all the way over on the left. That's probably me.
So you're what, 6-7 feet away from Perry's car, maybe like 10 feet. Like, you're not far.
Oh yeah, no. The closest I got to Perry's car was probably 6 or 7 feet, if not a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
by the time he started shooting, I was a little bit farther away.
Okay, and Garrett would have been like right behind you, pretty much, like not that far off behind you in that situation.
Yeah, not too far. And he was carrying a trans pride banner for most of that march, including at this time, and that's a thing that we'll get into some more.
Yeah. That's the big thing with how he was holding his rifle, and a lot of people missed, is that he had a banner in his hand, and I didn't even notice that until like a couple months ago, because I get into these arguments about Garrett fucking routinely, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have too. And I don't know how I never put that together until I watched you say it, and then it just clicked in my head. I was like, oh my God, I remember that now. He was carrying that trans pride banner, and you can see it not only in the videos, you can see it in that picture. The picture that everyone uses to try to, you can see in that picture that he's holding that trans pride banner.
Yeah, I ask about like Garrett being right behind you, because the other conspiracy that goes around all the time is that Garrett traveled really any distance at all to get to where Perry was, that he like charged him, that he rushed him or whatever. Like, I argue with people all the time. Garrett took a couple steps towards the car at most,
while holding the banner.
Yeah.
So like there were people on the other end of the banner. Like, he couldn't have made a lot of movement without dragging people with him.
Yeah, and he didn't drop it because it's in the pictures. No, in fact, like
he's holding it in the pictures in the video.
Yeah.
Not to mention that Garrett was trying to defuse the situation and get people away from the vehicle.
Yeah, so that's the thing I can get to right here is I don't know still to this day if this captures the audio, but if people can hear this, actually it's perfect. Right here, if you go to 116 on this video, you hear somebody yelling, "Everybody back up."
Yep. And
that's Garrett. So Garrett's taking a couple steps towards this vehicle and yelling at everybody to back up with his rifle down. So like anyone who's been in a situation like this knows that if the conspiracies are right and he's just trying to shoot Perry or intimidate Perry or whatever, why did he approach the car and why did he yell back up? Why didn't he just pull up his rifle and just shoot Perry? Like, he had no reason to get within arm's reach of him. He had no reason to yell at people to back up. And as we learned from the video, there was nobody in front of Perry's car. So he was probably just yelling at people to be like, hey, let's figure out what the hell happened here, guys. Like, chill out. Like, this car might have just made a wrong turn. He might have been making a mistake. He might have been looking at his phone. Like, everybody just relax. So, like, this conspiracy of him charging in and sticking this rifle in Perry's face is disproven by the video evidence, but people say it over and over again.
Oh, and that's the other thing. I didn't realize either that was Garrett in the video. Because like I said, I wasn't super familiar with him, so it didn't immediately register. But when you said that was Garrett's voice, like, that just made all the sense in the world to me. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds exactly like this. It's the same person who did that little interview, and it's
I mean, he's a 6'3" big dude yelling everybody. Yeah. You'd hear it over the entire crowd and everyone yelling. You can hear Garrett telling everybody to back up. You know,
hard to miss.
So what were you gonna say, Mel? Remember where I was? Oh, sorry. What?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead. My bad. Wasn't important.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So what I remember, and I don't know, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I remember the shots happened and everybody just froze. And then somebody shouted, "Run!" or "Everybody run!" And then that's when everybody started scrambling. Because at the beginning, like earlier on, at some point, somebody had said to all of us, like, don't freak out just because somebody shouts or something crazy happens. Somebody had said that to us as the crowd. But it's also like when somebody fires a gun into the crowd, we didn't know what we were supposed to do. And so somebody shouted "run," and then we all started scrambling. Maybe. So
did you catch the 3 shots that Jordan returned fire on Daniel Perry? Or was he already like in fucking battle mode at that point and just getting out of the area? Because our friend Jordan returned fire on. He's the one who shot back at Daniel Perry when he was driving away.
I believe most of the crowd had scrambled by that time. I was not. I'm trying to remember now. I've watched these videos so many times. I think I remember hearing other shots, but I think that's what made me stop again, because there were kind of 2 things. It was like there was this feeling of like somebody might need me. And then I think there were more shots, and that made me stop because 2 or 3 feet. Like, and then I took a couple steps, and then I stopped again, and I turned back again. And by that point in time, most of the crowd had scrambled, had like left the area. But there was Garrett in the middle of the road.
Yeah. It hits hard. And then, I mean, I don't know if you want to go any further into it, but did you stay in the area when people were running up and giving him medical aid or anything like that? Or at that point, were you just like, fuck this is Baghdad, I'm getting out of here?
It was more, he needs help, but I'm not the right person to help him because I looked right at his face. I was, it felt like I was probably about 6 feet away from him, but it was more than that. It must have been, but it felt like I was pretty close. And, and it was like frozen in time kind of thing. And then next thing I know, there's a medic at his side. There are more people coming who are shot in his name. And I'm like, he needed somebody, just not me. This wasn't my position. So I got out of the way because I knew that like, I didn't want to be in the way, right? I didn't want to be the reason that he didn't get what he needed or whatever.
Right.
It wasn't even like a Baghdad thing. My concern was the person who was bleeding out on the ground.
Right. And sorry to cut you off, but just like, because I know we know this, but people haven't seen this. I'm going to play this video now. But like I said, you see a vehicle like right here that's like pulling along the protest, and like nobody's messing with the car, nobody's doing anything. And then from the dash cam, like this guy, he's driving through. This guy only puts his hand up because he's like, well, don't hit these people. And then you can see him look away because he's going to let this car go. So this whole narrative that people were blocking traffic or trying to prevent people from going or anything like that, it's ridiculous. And I bring it up in the video, but I'll bring it up again. But if Daniel Perry is coming from the right here, like the road straight is clear, the road left is clear, he's at a red light, like he has all the options in the world.
Yeah, and he could have waited, he could have gone slowly, he could have like it's a red light, there were pedestrians in the crosswalk. He didn't use a blinker. He didn't come to a full stop. Like he didn't it's like what and it's just it's very clear that it's like the thing that I said over and over and over again in all my interviews was like the driver intentionally and aggressively accelerated into a crowd of people. The driver instigated the violence.
Because like I'll try to catch it here, but let's see if we can catch it right here. So Perry like comes up to this light and slows down right here. So he has a red light, like he's supposed to yield to these people no matter what anybody says, and then he just hits it real quick in again. And you can even see it's kind of hard to catch.
He has like a little mini like stop or slow down in the middle, and then he speeds up again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to catch here because just the pixel quality and everything like that. But there is nobody in front of the car. And I'm going to pull up this video, and this is the one I was talking about that's more recent and is like a kind of a breakdown of this that's been kind of come out recently. Let me pull this up real quick while I do. Okay, and then we're going to go. So this video right here. So this right here is this is showing on screen, right? Okay, yeah.
You can see him holding the banner.
Because
that's a side banner.
Yeah, you can see this big white banner in his hand, and you can see right here, like the barrel of Garrett's AK, like his arm, his posture, everything like that. It's pointing downwards. He's very close to Daniel Perry. So like at this distance, it would almost be hard for him to raise his AK up to do anything about it because he's this close to the car. So he's obviously just walking up to be like, yo, dude, like what the fuck? And you can see this long banner in his hand. Mm-hmm. And like he's not holding his AK and his hand grip on his AK and this banner. That's not. So it's in his left hand, and his AK is over it. So obviously, like, he's pointing down. This is what's going on. And right about here, like you said, you can see there's nobody in front of the car. And there's other people walking around too. Like, and there's nobody. People say, "Oh, they were banging on his car," and I don't know if
that's because I think one dude who was on the other side of that car smacked the windshield one time, and that in my brain that turned into people smacking his car. And I said that in an interview at some point, and that was not true, as we can see from the video here. Like,
yeah, there's nobody around the car.
I have felt like I'm a human being. My memory ain't perfect. Like, go with the video.
And also, like, yeah, like you're a civilian, and it was a night full of gunshots and people dying. Like, it's understandable your memory is a little weird, but yeah, and you can see right about. Let's see if I try to catch it again, because this is just weird in slow motion. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this. You can see the flash right there
from Daniel Perry's gun.
From Daniel Perry. So
Garrett doesn't even look like his hand's not even all the way out of the window. Look at that. He's barely got the window down, and he's already shooting.
Yeah. So like Garrett. The posture they describe him, that famous picture going around where they say he's pointing the rifle, like, this is clear. He's not pointing the rifle, because there's no way with that banner, with that AK that close, he's standing like this. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening. It would be touching Daniel Perry's nose. Like this, this, and you can already see that, like, I
will say this is a bad angle to see how he was farther. He was far enough. This makes it look like he was closer to the car than I think he probably was, is my guess. Because, like I said, when I turned my head over my shoulder, Daniel Perry's arm was all the way out the window, and I couldn't see Garrett. My view of him was obstructed by other protesters. So I don't know that necessarily that piece of it is valid. But I also just want to say this other thing of, like, Garrett did not raise his weapon, but he was totally justified to. I sincerely believe that. I mean, because
this dude drew first. It's obvious that he drew his gun first because he's driving in a car.
He almost ran a bunch of people over, and he just stopped out of nowhere for no reason. Like, Garrett did not raise his weapon, but even if he did, he would have been justified. Period.
And obviously the law agrees as well, which is why Daniel Perry's being indicted. But I also think that has to do with the fact that this story stopped getting talked about by the conservatives, because the conservatives ran with this and would not stop talking about oh, look at these violent BLM people pointing guns at pedestrians and blah, blah, blah. And then they shut up about it. And we'll get to what Daniel Perry was doing to make it very hard to defend his actions after that fact. But yeah, like obviously the law agrees when they broke down the video and everything like that Perry was the aggressor here. That Garrett was standing where he was standing, took a couple steps towards the guy, and then got shot and killed.
Mm-hmm.
That's Garrett did what happened. And I bring it up in that video too of even if you put yourself in the conservative brain of you're a yeehaw mega Texas Republican, God and country and whatever, and you're in. Do you remember because there's some business on that corner, if it's a bar or a liquor store or something like that was right next door?
4th and Congress. Why can't I? Man, I spent so much time in that memorial.
Do you remember, Mel?
Yeah, there was a jewelry store right on the corner.
Right. Okay. So we'll use that. So you're coming out of this jewelry store, and you see this car pull up, and then you see people running towards the car. So in your head, you're like, "Oh, these crazy BLM people, they're gonna hurt this guy." So you pull your gun out and yell at everybody to get back, and then you get shot and killed. That's what happened to Garrett. That's essentially exactly what happened to Garrett, and yet people throw him under the bus so hard, and they lie about him so much, and it's insane to me. And they take that one clip of him being like, "Well, nobody's going to come here and do anything about it," and they don't understand the context that he's a Boogaloo boy. So he's talking about the police. He's not talking about normal people or whatever. He's saying that he's not going to let the cops come shut down the protest. And yet they misconstrue this as he was begging people to come on and like this big macho thing. No.
Yeah, that's not what it's about.
Yeah, it wasn't like some formal written statement. Some dude just came up to him on the street with a camera. and like ask them a question. Like,
and I gave that exact same response to that Turkish media crew that interviewed me in Louisville, where they're like, well, if a bunch of like police come and like try to shut this down and like Proud Boys show up or something, like, are you going to use your weapon? I'm like, well, I don't want to, but I mean,
Yep.
if I got to defend people, that's how it's going to go. And how is that any different than what Garrett said? Yet nobody's calling me some evil, crazy, bad person for it.
and Garrett was literally like talking about like they're not letting us exercise our First Amendment rights, so we got to exercise our Second Amendment rights. And it's like that is exactly the conservative Republican thought line, right? And I think that's reasonable. Like I think like that's the whole point of the Second Amendment, is so that way the government can't take away the rest of your rights.
Right. And like that was after I forgot to pull it up, but I'll get it. But I have videos of what happened in Dallas with like Philip Archibald and like Shifty and like all the other guys that were getting shot with rubber bullets and tear gassed and shit, just standing around.
Oh, yeah.
And Garrett saw that. Garrett was talking, like commenting on those posts and everything of, I forget his name, but he like shows his shoulder and he's just this giant welt from a rubber bullet. And he was like, dude, I was just standing there. Like, and at that point, we weren't even really like part of the protest. We were just showing up to like keep things cool, to keep the police from attacking people. Like just, and at that point, that's where a lot of people got radicalized, including Garrett. And they're like, well, I'm marching with these people now because I've experienced what they have experienced, you know? So now I'm part of this. And that was deep in Garrett's like thing. And he posted about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. And it's wild to me. Sorry, what did you say, Sass?
Austin got tear gas too. Austin, but like you said, Austin was rarely talked about. There were like a select few cities that they were talking about, but like, no, dude, the tear gas and the rubber bullets were happening all over the country. And it was like, I didn't realize that it was happening in Austin until a couple weeks after it had started. And I kind of felt that. I was like, man, I probably would have gotten my ass out there if I had known that was going on.
There's like one major like turnpike freeway that goes through the middle of Austin. I'm forgetting what it's called.
It cuts the city into east-west halves.
Yeah,
so
I remember the video of Austin police going down I-35 and just spraying pepper spray out the window, like drive-by pepper spraying the crowd that were standing on like the berm or whatever you want to call that between like there's the freeway and then there's like the grass and people are standing on the grass. The cops are just driving down it and just pepper spraying people out the fucking window.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what they were doing at Garrett's memorial.
Yeah, we should get to that now. So we're gonna move on to the memorial. So like after Garrett gets shot, that night goes to hell. I'm assuming to wrap up Sass, everybody clears out at that point, like protest over. Like we're not marching anymore. Like,
and actually point to the Boogaloo Boys because the police were like monitoring everything. Of course, they didn't actually prevent the crime; they just showed up afterward,
per usual.
But they showed up pretty quickly. And then they started creating a perimeter. Of course, they wouldn't allow an ambulance to come through and save Garrett. You know, they just waited. So that was bullshit. But there were
I didn't even know that detail, and now I'm mad again.
Yeah, right. Because the perimeter isn't secure. It's like, the dude is dying. There are 40 police here. There are no bullets going off. We need to save his goddamn life. Like, whatever. Anyway, obviously people were upset. And I didn't realize they were Boogaloo Boys at the time. But people who were armed, worked with the police to help create the perimeter. And that was really instrumental because as protesters who were like really upset and very emotional at that moment, having people who were marching side by side with us, like having that calm, cool composure to help us like create the space that was needed for Garrett, like that was really important and really powerful. So like that's another point to the people who were there, protecting us and helping us is like I really do think that made the difference between de-escalation and escalation in that moment.
Hell yeah. And then what was it a week? Mel, do you remember? Was it like a week after? Was it a couple days after?
It was exactly a week later. It was that next Saturday.
Okay. So we get to your part of this story. I feel like we need like a mild amount of humor to bounce off of our friend being allowed to die by the fucking cops.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into the whole caravan of fucking chaos that happened in Austin that day, and like how Austin, because that actually lays the groundwork of how Austin PD was so shitty at that memorial.
Oh yeah.
Was how they treated you guys before and what they were doing before. So if you want to go into that real quick.
Yeah. So I'll say this because this actually, I don't think a lot of people know this. So when we were at our briefing spot, a 3%er boss showed up. They were supposed to work with us doing security. So we ended up giving them our comms and shit so we could stay in touch. We kept them at a distance, but we were just trying to see if we could trust them. So anyway, when we got in our a convoy, there's roughly about 50 of us. I think it was 7 vehicles, like between trucks and sedans. Fucking badass. And we drove to UT because we heard on our comms that that's where the march was starting. So we go there, and it's fucking ghost town except for probably 200, 300, or 100 cops just waiting for us. So they were waiting for us to put boots on the ground because it's lawful to carry a weapon inside your vehicle on school campus, but as soon as you are physically on the campus, they can arrest you.
So whoever told you to go to campus was trying to get you, essentially.
Exactly. So,
like the police department was already trying to like arrest and bait protesters at a fucking memorial. Like
yeah, and we had no idea was the funny part, right? So we're all about to jump out of our vehicles, and then somebody came over the radio and was like, "Don't get out of the fucking cars." It's like it's a setup. We were like, "What the fuck?" So then we just turned around and dipped out. And we admit that, see, my memory shit. We went to the memorial before that, paid our respects to Garrett, and that's where Colt did his thing, and we got all of our pictures and stuff. That's when we went to UT, and then we got reports of police pepper spraying, arresting, beating up protesters. Not protesters, people at the memorial. The memorial was peaceful. I don't know if you saw the pictures and videos.
During the daytime, there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even a protest. It was people hanging out on a street corner, paying their respect. And then when the night came around, which I don't know if you remember, but I don't ever remember because I was following it closely that night. Austin police never declared a curfew.
No.
They just started going after people.
We never had a curfew. Yeah, dude. Wait, real quick, malpractice medic. You said you were there exactly 1 week later on that Saturday?
Yeah, he was at the memorial.
Oh no, I thought there was a memorial service on the Monday, just 2 days later. That was
that was the one that Perry showed up to. Yeah.
Let's get
the showed up to the memorial service.
Yeah. Okay. So go into that now because that's very important detail that
I
people
never
don't
heard
know.
This.
Yes,
Am
this
I
is
wrong?
documented. This is actually documented in the court in the court proceedings because they didn't arrest Perry at that point. They let him go that night and then arrested him later. And in the arrest records for Perry, it is cited that he showed up to that. Not the big protest memorial, but the smaller just people memorial. He showed up to that and was yelling at people and harassing people.
And said he was going to come back with a gun from his condo and shoot people.
Yeah, that's it. That's in the court documents. You can look that up. I'm not sure if that threat's in there, but that he did show up and that he was harassing people.
Yeah.
How did I not hear about this?
I know
because everyone stopped talking about it.
It
It got swept under the rug so fast because to make this point in general, because this is why I care about the story so much, is that the left owned Daniel Foster and Garrett Foster owned him and was very vocal. And like I said, Cuomo had you on and they were talking about him. It was a big deal until it came out that he was a Boogaloo boy. And then the left just stopped talking about Garrett because of the whole weird conspiracies around us and all the lies around us. And then the right was really defensive of Daniel Perry and almost putting him on a hero worship until the court documents came out that he was harassing the widow and the family of the person he shot and killed at their fucking memorial. And then they shut up about him. And all of this got buried besides a couple random people making dumb comments about Garrett until Perry got indicted. And now you have these Texas Republican senators or whatever coming out talking about how Perry was some hero and everything. And all those details just swept under the rug and lied about.
Not to mention him posting about this shit months before on Twitter.
Let's bring that up real quick.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know if anybody remembers exactly what he says.
I'll
pull it up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you The most egregious one I do remember is him literally describing what he did to Garrett. I think like
Yeah.
3 months ago.
Like straight, like not even like it's so
Like it's like pull up in your car and put 5 in their chest. Like,
yeah.
like,
So basically
close to
exactly
that.
what he said. It was insane.
Okay, when I was in Austin that night when we got done around like 2 or 3 a.m. when we were chilling, eating and talking, we heard that Daniel Perry was at a bar downtown about a block from the memorial bragging about killing Garrett. That's while I was fucking there, bro. I mean, all around that situation was the thing that made me go to Austin, do whatever I had to do to go halfway across the country to be there for Garrett and the brothers that are there, was seeing the fact that the fucking medics didn't come in and try to save him. That was enough for me to say, fuck them. I'm going to do whatever I can to get there. Because that's just not right, man. And then people dragging him for no fucking reason.
Ooh, so you can share your own stream. There we go. I don't know how clearly this will come up just from stream quality. I know I can barely read it.
It should lock in.
There we go.
But here, I'll read it. So Donald J. Trump, June 19th. Any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes who are going to Oklahoma, please understand you will not be treated like you have been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene! ! Daniel Perry, same day, send them to Texas and we will show them why we say don't mess with Texas. That was June 19th, June 3rd. So these are going back in time. June 3rd, replying to some other message. Fuck that shit. You shoot center of mass. 1, if it is a bigger target. 2, it still drops them. 3, even if you shoot them in the leg, there is a major artery that will cause the person to bleed out in just a few minutes. May 31st, so back in time even a little bit more. Probably looks like it might have been the same thread. Now is the time to take up arms and protect yourselves against violence. So he literally said, shoot center of mass. And
right. And it's like these tweets on their own, like they mean nothing. Like I'll be very clear about that, because a lot of people in the gun community, we talk big, we run our fucking mouths, we say shit like this. But it's not just that he typed this shit. It's that he typed this shit, then did it, then harassed the family afterwards, then bragged about it online after the fact. Like this guy, no remorse, no whatever. So like it comes across as almost like sociopathic. And then you hear like the most recent detail of the case of him being asked, like his only request in his indictment was that he could continue to serve in the military even if he's charged, which is really weird. And like I can't let armchair psychology too much, but like that's just such a surreal request of like, oh well, if I get charged for murder, can I keep serving in the military?
What the fuck?
Like that doesn't seem like a sane thing for a human to ask, you know?
Of all things you could ask. Yeah.
Right. Like so the dude's obviously like whack. Like that's the thing. And then if we can get to then from there, Mal, how the actual like that night at the memorial went, because I know that from talking to Jay, I don't know where he went. He kind of fell off the face of the earth, but Jay and cyborg girl that has one leg, I forget her name too. I remember from talking to them that like it almost came to like a gunfight with the cops that night from how they were acting, because they were out of control with the fucking protesters.
Yeah. So we were the entire night. Our task was to do security at the memorial, keep the cops away from the memorial, keep them from fucking it up. So that instance, what happened, like I said, we're doing security. The cops and the protesters started getting into, well, the cops started trying to get into it with the protesters, I should say. And they started pushing everybody back from the memorial, and they started flooding us. And we had, at this point though, we only had about 12, maybe 15 guys at the memorial. And we had other guys. We had another team down by the police station, and we had, guys just floating around. So we didn't really have the numbers at that point, but we still had enough to where they were scared. But so anyway, they pushed us away from the memorial, and they were crushing the candles with their bikes. The bike cops, as they were pushing people away, you can hear the candles just fucking. Oh my God, man! I'll never.
Right, and I remember the video. So like to put this in perspective for people, this is just your average city street corner. So like you have like your light post, and then there's Garrett Foster's memorial at the base of that like crossing light or whatever it is, and then the street goes on this way and the street goes on this way. The cops were originally just standing in the street, and all of the memorers, I don't know the word for that, the people that were at the memorial, just it was I refuse to call it Yeah, the mourners. It wasn't a protest.
Yeah.
Nobody was protesting anything.
Thank you.
You know, the mourners are just standing on the sidewalk. And then I remember from the video that the cops go from the sidewalk, just like you said, will go from the middle of the street onto the sidewalk and start pushing people back from the memorial for no reason. Like, there's nothing in Austin, like, legal code about gathering on a street. Nobody was blocking the businesses. Nobody was in the street. The cops just said, well, it's time to break this up, and started going after fucking people.
Yeah, no, there are more details that I have that are going to make you mad, because I was there that night. That night I was there. I spoke before, because we marched that night, and I spoke at the rally before it, and we marched. But then during the march, the police got mad at, we're doing their bit. They did this to us all the time, where like they would get on some speakerphone and they'd be like, "You're blocking the street. You need to get on the sidewalk." And then we would all get on the sidewalk, and then they would fill the street. And then for the next 10 minutes, while we're all on the sidewalk and they're blocking the street, they would keep going over their speakerphone. You're on the street. You need to get on the sidewalk, otherwise you will be arrested.
And for people don't understand, this is a common thing. And I'll go on a personal anecdote really quick. When I was in Louisville, I posted a video about this. We were protesting outside of a strip club, and there's a little backstory to that. Essentially, like, some local city leaders were in this strip club partying. It was Breonna Taylor's year memorial. So local activists are like, well, the people that are responsible for her fucking murder are in the strip club partying, so we're going to go outside and protest. So we're all standing on the grass, and I get a notification on my phone because I have Louisville PD on push notifications because I'm protesting. And they say, armed individuals blocking the road. And I look around, and there's nobody in the road. Then Louisville PD shows up and blocks the road. I get another notification from the Louisville police Twitter saying that protesters have filled the road and are blocking the road. And I look around, and like, people are starting to walk up to the cop line because they're blocking the road. My last notification is riot police deployed because essentially due to the fact that armed people were blocking the road. And I looked up, and I even took a picture. There was probably 100 riot cops, an MRAP, an LRAD, all in the street, and then we're all on the sidewalk. So like, this is a thing cops do like all the time to like back Sass up. Like, this is a tactic those motherfuckers use.
Yeah,
so, like, continue with your story.
Austin's got a whole brigade of horses, and they'll come out on horses. It's the most bizarre thing. It's like, oh, this is where our $400 million police budget is going. Got you. Okay. What? Anyway, but
at least you don't have Segway cops like we do here in Detroit.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So end of the march, we all go to Garrett's Memorial. And by the way, like, our sidewalks in downtown are pretty wide. They're like 20 feet wide. Like, they can fit a lot of people. They can fit a lot of stuff. So and we were all on the sidewalk. We were mourning just at the memorial, doing our thing. And that was for like probably almost an hour. And I remember I went back to my car for something, and I wasn't the only one. About a block down, there was like this empty lot, and there were 30 or 40 police officers in there just standing in a circle, like very clearly like plotting, like straight up. It was like, you would look over, you'd be like, oh, they're planning to attack us soon. Okay, that's what's going to happen here. Like, it was so obvious. It was just blatant. And then, yeah, sure enough, we're in a circle around the memorial, which has tons of candles in like glass things that are like lit and all this nice stuff and flowers and everything. And out of nowhere, here come 30, 40, 50 police officers, and they just descend on us and push people over and break candles, and the glass is breaking, and they were aiming for people who lead protests. I was gonna say, I knew a ton of people were recording it, so like you should be able to find. Yes, beautiful memorial. Exactly. This is what it was like for weeks.
Yeah, that's my friend Colton there, and like I know there's videos of what happened that night, but I didn't pull them up because I didn't think of them. But again, like you said, like look at this wide sidewalk. Oh yeah, wide fucking sidewalk.
There's plenty of room. And
that's a good picture.
Yeah. And keep that picture up. So the police, the road is on the left, and so the police came from that part on the left, and we're pushing people over. I'm like trying to. You guys can't see where my hand is waving over the thing. But yeah, no. See the dude with the red jacket on. So they were coming. But imagine him facing the other way because they're trying to block the police officers from destroying the memorial, and they're just pushing people over and trying to grab people. And they're like specifically aiming for people who like lead protests because it's tactical, right? That's the whole point. And that's gonna come back around to Garrett in a second here. I got a thing to share. But yeah, and then they arrested like 2 people for literally nothing. And like I said, there were a ton of people recording it. There's got to be videos on Twitter. I never went back and looked at any of them because I was there. But yeah, destroyed the memorial. They destroyed that memorial. I don't know how many times the police destroyed that memorial, but a lot of times they destroyed that memorial. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. But see, like this is the thing though, because like I know you were talking about Jay earlier. Jay was definitely one of the protest leaders. He was out there every night. Jay is fantastic. But because I was so vocal and upfront about the whole thing, Garrett's mother, Sheila, ended up getting in contact with me and wanted me to meet with her and her lawyers and everything. And when we kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then also when I did that interview with Cuomo, the person after was the city manager, Kronk, who's a piece of crap, and had a really terrible interview and was trying to justify what happened.
Attacking a fucking memorial. Actually, I found the video, so people can see what happened here. So I'm gonna pull this up real quick. This is the one during the day. I couldn't find, at least not quickly. I couldn't find the one that happened at night because I know, I talked to you, Mal. At nighttime, it got really sketchy to where they were approaching you guys, who usually the cops don't fuck with the armed people, but they started getting even antsy with you guys, and that's how needlessly aggressive for, as you'll see in this video, for fucking nothing.
Because we refused to back away from the memorial. That was it.
And we were there legally because we're on the sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
Yes, okay. So everybody see this, right? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can catch this right here. So it's about to switch over right now. Nobody's in the street at all.
I remember her getting arrested.
Yeah,
that was a different
and right after we were there, I think.
Yeah, and the cops are literally pushing people into the building and arresting everybody. And they got obviously Austin police right there got the beanbag fucking shotgun out and shit for nothing, for people in the daytime standing around the memorial. And I don't know if you guys catch this, but you can see they formed a square around the memorial.
Yep, that's what they did to us, man.
And it's
they found out the hard way.
It's why? It's daylight. Right now, I could go to Austin, I could call Sass, and we could get 60 people to stand on that street corner, and the police are not going to come. We could just sit there and talk and do whatever, play fucking badminton or something on that sidewalk. The cops are not going to come. But for some reason, because it was a memorial for Garrett, the police had to get involved. Why? Nobody knows. But okay.
I did a tabling event for basic income, and I had a 10-foot tent, and I just set it up on the side of one of the sidewalks, literally 2 blocks up from here. And I was out there for 9 hours. Police never had a problem. In fact, somebody called the police at one point because this lady was giving me trouble or whatever, and the police came by. They were like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" They were making sure I was okay. It's dude, people taking up a lot of space on the sidewalk, no big deal. I didn't have to get any permits or anything. It was just public property, and I was just doing a thing. So yeah. No justification here. But so the point I wanted to get to here was Kronk, the city manager, was yeah, we knew about Garrett and we were kind of watching him. And a thing that I talked about on the Cuomo interview, so that same night, on the same segment, was that Daniel called the police right away. And that's what you do in these kinds of situations. You get your story in first, and then you're going to be believed more, right? And little did I realize that I was actually doing the opposite thing because his lawyer didn't come out with anything until that following Thursday. But because I had done so many interviews and I had gotten the story out there so much that like to the public, Garrett's story came out first. And so like that was actually, I think that was huge in like being able to like in kind of how this has progressed. But the thing that Garrett's mother Sheila and I think is that like it's not unreasonable that this was a conspiracy between Daniel Perry and the Austin Police Department to take down Garrett. Like I haven't seen enough evidence to like definitively say that it's convincing, but there's enough to make it reasonably suspicious.
I wouldn't be surprised. Those motherfuckers are crooked as hell, man.
Yeah, especially there. And I mean, like, I know I want to get into you, Mal, of what happened that night when you guys were all out. Because later on, like because I know you guys all came back, the protesters all came back, and that's the point where they had like riot cops in the streets. It was nighttime. I can't find the video for it. I've seen it 100 times.
Security was standing out there with their fucking 70 or whatever, their $50,000 nods and suppressed ARs and shit. They just look like clowns, man.
Yeah, like they during the day they had regular Austin PD bike cops. During the night, because they had seen you guys out there before, they showed up with like tack gear. Like these dudes, bulletproof vests, rifles, night vision goggles, like all that. Again, to elite, like I can walk through downtown Austin with my rifle right there with my full kit on and walk right down the sidewalk. It's not illegal. I can get 50 people to do that. It's not illegal. But because you guys were there, they had to deploy essentially SRT, special response team, on you guys. So I wanted to talk about like what happened there, because I remember the story of how like they were pushing up on you guys and like words were exchanged. So if you want to go into that.
Yeah, you're talking about when they drew on us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, yeah, so we're just standing at the memorial, and we're with the other mourners, just chilling. I mean, it was very calm because the protesters were to and from the police station fucking with the cops. So it was quiet. All of a sudden, of course, the cops show up and start getting into it with the protesters, just verbally at first, and then they just fucking rush us, and they're pushing over mourners at the memorial, telling us that we have to now get back and that this is an unlawful assembly and that we have to get off the sidewalk. And they're pushing us back. And we probably got about 15 feet from the memorial when my team leader told all of us, he was like, everybody stop fucking moving, stay in a line and hold it. And we told the cops we weren't moving. Then two of them drew their weapons on us, and as if it wasn't already chaotic enough. Because you have the candles breaking already, and Garrett's guys were fucking losing it at that point. And then when they drew their weapons on us, I mean, I thought that was it, man. So we just fucking stood there and we just looked at each other, waiting for them to fire the first shots. I mean, that was it. We refused to obey an unlawful order. We were at our brother's memorial on a public sidewalk, exercising our constitutional rights, and they wanted to murder us, and for that.
Right. And I remember from the video too, it wasn't like they pushed you guys or anything like that. Like the moment you stopped moving, they pulled up rifles.
Yeah.
Like they never even got to the point where like they tried, and to your guys' credit, which is why I say that, like the Austin boys and everybody was there, y'all some fucking warriors. Nobody reacted to having a cop rifle pointed in their face. They just stood there. I'm sure y'all were shitting your pants internally, but at least from the video, it didn't even look like people were like, okay, like
they were pissed, man.
Shoot me. Like
nobody that I saw, none of the boys were scared. Everybody was boiling with fucking rage. I mean, because
for no reason. Like people were just standing there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a protest. It's not a riot. Nobody's in the street. It's that would have been Saturday, Monday. Do you guys remember?
Saturday. It would have been Saturday night.
Yeah. So downtown Austin on a Saturday, like there's crowds, there's people.
Well, it's coronavirus too, so it wasn't as busy as it normally was.
But I just mean like in theory, in concept, like this is an abnormal police response to people being outside downtown Austin.
Yeah. No, it was excessive for sure. The funny part is that after everything died down, after we spoke, we were exchanging words for probably like 20 seconds. They holstered their weapons and they left. Then the supervisor came over to us, which is on video somewhere. I'll have to find it. The supervisor was explaining the reason we were drawn upon was because we were blocking a sidewalk, even though we weren't blocking the fucking sidewalk. I mean, we had very clear rules in our briefing, what our rules of engagements were, obey every single law, stop at the fucking crosswalks. So we weren't blocking any fucking sidewalks. We made it a point not to do that, you know?
Yeah. And I remember from the video even too of like, I think it was Jay. I remember Jay, guy with the big beard and everything.
Yeah.
Where they said over the megaphone, they're like, you're blocking the sidewalk. And Jay's literally like standing on that little concrete berm that's between the street and the sidewalk. And he's literally going like this of like, nobody's blocking the sidewalk. And you're blocking the sidewalk. And he's like, nobody's blocking the sidewalk. Oh, riot cops.
But what was funny afterwards is that a reporter that was listening to the police comms said that during all of that, when they drew their weapons on us, one of their supervisors said that those guys are not police friendly. Just stop. That was it. They're not police friendly. They'll return fire. And I laughed my fucking ass off when I heard that. The fact that just 12 dudes, there was about 50 of us in all that day, but the fact that just 12 dudes punked out APD and Homeland Security is
right. And that always goes to my point of the cops are terrified.
Yeah.
I brought it up on last week's podcast of the cop in Louisville that kept going like this with his gun every time one of us walked by, and we were like sitting there
smoking with your hands up.
Yeah, I had my hands on top of my rifle and I was smoking a cigarette and I was just looking at this dude like, you okay? Like, why are you so scared? You're the police in this situation. You have the law and all the backup in the world, and you're in full kit with this badass police cruiser, and you're scared.
He's scared of a guy named Duncan Lemp.
Right. It's crazy to me. But we've hit our hour mark, so we're gonna start wrapping it up there. I don't know, Sass, like any closing details, anything like that, and then after that, just plug your stuff because I know you're running. You got a website, you got all sorts of stuff. So where can people find you?
It's been on screen the whole time. Go to voteforsass.com. You can find everything you want there, all my social media and everything. I've got a ton of content on my YouTube channel, so check that out. Just like a little note that I wanted to say was like I was, halfway through the day on that following day, that Sunday, all the reporters that I was scheduling interviews with, they were like, "Thank you so much for responding. We can't get anybody else to respond." And that's when I was like, okay, this is a call to action. I need to make sure Garrett's story gets out there because it sounds like nobody else is doing it. And so I was doing it. But I think this has been absolutely a fantastic, bringing all of the information together. I think this is a great video that we can point people to really get all of the details about what the hell happened.
Yeah, because on Google, there's one video where a guy breaks down 3 clips, and that's it. Everything else is conjecture or one image or the dash cam. Nobody talked to anybody on the fucking ground besides you, which again, I'll never. I think the universe had something to do with us meeting up because it's so weirdly serendipitous how this all happened. So yeah, definitely everybody check out Sass. Sass is awesome. Outside of the whole Garrett situation, this dude is the shit. I love his
I appreciate it.
I love his unity message. If you're in the Texas area, definitely link up with him. Mal, any closing comments? If you want to plug your Twitter for any reason because you want people to see more Boogaloo shit posting, I don't know, but just close yourself out.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm on Twitter at Afraid Chair. And I'm really glad we did this, man. I feel like I should have written more notes down and stuff, but I am glad that we got to talk about some things that have not been talked about, or a lot of people don't even know about, in terms of, Perry showing up to the memorial and shit like that. So I'm glad we did it, and rest in peace, Garrett. We're going to keep fighting for justice, and Task Force Foster, baby. We're going to hold the line.
Yeah, I know the anniversary is coming up, which is one reason I wanted to do this, because a lot of people are going to be like, what's going on? I hope they Google and find this video and my video to break down more, because not only was Perry indicted for murder, we'll see what happens there, but the year anniversary is coming up. And I want to do an event in Texas for Garrett for the year anniversary. The problem is a lot of the guys that were there have been arrested or in jail right now just because we're activists and shit happens. So I don't know if there's any local Texas people on our end that are doing anything. I'm sure the mother and the family and the local activists might be doing something, but I'm not aware. So maybe that's something you could find out, Sass. But I'll put it in the description of this video if it comes out that there is an event and people want to come out and pay respects to Garrett on the year anniversary. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got here. I thank everybody that tuned in. Anybody that's going to be watching this after the fact. Thank you guys for showing up and helping shed some more light on this, give them some more details. We're supposed to have 2 more people, but one of them is being fucked with by the law, and the other one couldn't show up, so they couldn't appear on. But maybe we'll get them on some other time, maybe on the memorial. Who knows? But yeah, I appreciate you guys. We're going to call it there. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.